Welcome to Girl Talk with Amy, Anna, and Lisa.
Come on, girls. Yeah, you know it's our world. So tell me, where the girls at? Come on, girls.
Like many girlfriends, we get together, share what's going on with friends, families, life in general, good, bad. We're always here to support each other. When we visit each other, we spend time doing our girl talk in the comfort zone. The comfort zone is a place where we can be very vulnerable with each other, no judgments. We want to make sure we're uplifting and helping each other when we're down. However, when we're having great success, we're definitely supportive and we're cheering each other on. We are here to support all of you. We realized one day that we had to share this message with others. What we talk about in the comfort zone is something that can empower women all over the world. And we wanted to bring you into our world where we meet once a week. We hope that you enjoy our show. Please like, subscribe, and share with others. We'd love to hear back from you. Welcome to the show. And today in Girl Talk, we have a fantastic treat for you. We have the international best-selling author, award-winning filmmaker, photographer, and this powerhouse of a woman who helps creatives through her Tower 15 Productions company, Cali Gilbert. Join me in giving Cali a big round of applause, welcoming her, making her feel warm in Girl Talk. Can't wait to hear her story. Yay! How did Tower 15 Productions start? How did you decide to come up with this?
Yeah, Tower 15, the story goes way before that. But Tower 15 is actually where my LA story began. So I arrived in LA at the end of 2013 with suitcase in hand and a dream of success after experiencing a year of homelessness in San Francisco. My very first friend, who I met on the beach at Santa Monica's Tower 15, ended up being my best friend and partner. And so when it came to naming the business, it was like, well, Tower 15 Productions. And that's how it all began.
Awesome. Well, you opened up the can of worms. Tell us the story prior to Tower 15.
Yeah, so I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area in Sausalito, California, which is beautiful and paradise and very expensive. And I was living this beautiful, amazing life. I had a beautiful home overlooking the bay. I went to graduate school at the University of San Francisco and received a master's degree in management. Graduated at the end of 2010 and had started my own event management consulting firm halfway through grad school and thought that's the direction I was going to go in. I had 20 plus years of event management experience. And in 2011, I ended up losing everything. I miscarried a child, my car died, the relationship ended, my money ran out, and I lost my home in a matter of 12 months. So I began 2012 with no job, no money, no home, and a blank canvas, and asked myself what I wanted my life to look like. And the first question I actually asked was, do I give up or do I start over? And I realized that I had more to offer and that I wasn't done yet. And so I had this blank canvas, and what kind of life did I want to create? And within a few months, I created this amazing new life, new home in Sausalito, a part-time job that paid the bills, the ability to have the flexibility in my life to write and create my artistic endeavors. And it was incredible. And then at the end of 2012, I injured my low back. I truly believe that when we are out of alignment with life, that our body tends to send us signals, and sometimes we don't listen. And so I ended up with 2 compressed discs and sciatica for 7 months, and I literally thought like I was going to die. And because of that, I was only able to sit or stand for about 30 minutes at a time. And I ended up losing the job, the new job, and the new home that was tied to the job. I was a caretaker at a property management company. And so I'm out on the street with no job, no home again, and I can't move. And I'm like, seriously? You know? But at the time it was interesting because the first time around, I felt like a victim. I felt like I was in survival mode. I kept questioning, how is this possibly happening to me? I've got all these degrees, I've got this knowledge, this network, and yet I have no home. And the second time around, I thought, well, we didn't die the first time, so I know I'm going to be okay. And instead of looking at it from a victim mentality, I decided to look at it from a space of, I'm on an adventure, and where is life going to take me this week? Because when you have no home and, you can't really plan anything. So I lived like that for 8 months. And in doing that, it shifted everything. That slight shift of mindset brought people into my life who I hadn't seen in years, who were offering me places to stay and putting a roof over my head. And it was amazing. And then when I thought I had finally found a home in September of 2013, literally days before I was about to write the landlord a check, he tells me, oh, I'm so sorry, my current tenant has decided to stay another month. And so I thought, oh my God, like, okay. But at the time, and going through all this transformation, I was writing and I was taking photographs and I was creating, and I ended up publishing 4 books in 2012. So I had a little bit of money coming in, and I had saved up, and so I had enough to put down on a place to live. And I had some extra, so I thought, well, I'm going to go to Southern California, to LA, and I'm going to sit on the beach for 2 weeks in Santa Monica and rest and continue to heal my back. And then I'm going to go to San Diego and do the same thing, sit on the beach for 2 weeks, and then I'll go back to Sausalito and I'll move into this new space in November. Well, I got to Santa Monica and it was like, I was happy there. My back felt a lot better there. The weather was better. I just felt more peace of mind there. And I thought, well, maybe I'll stay. And in that moment, it was almost as if the universe said she's in alignment and now I can help her move forward, because everything shifted from that moment. And making the decision to call LA home was the best decision I ever made.
That's awesome.
Isn't it funny how that happens?
Yeah.
Where just one small little thing can change your whole entire world, right?
It changed everything. And it was so funny because I can remember for years telling my mom, I'll never move to LA. They can't pay me enough to go to Hollywood. And here I am making movies and happier than I've ever been. And so never say never, right?
Right. That's what I say.
Yeah. You know what I love is that you just share a perspective, is that you took time to listen to your inner voice. But what you actually also did is you fire the little itty bitty shitty committee that was talking to you. And you just said, I don't want to be a victim. And to me, that's empowering. And there's so many people out there that need to hear that, that's why I was super excited to invite you to share this story, because there's so many people out there. So especially women that are in corporate America that feel like, I can't do this, I can't do that. And you are proof here that, you know what, I listened to the inner voice and I reinvented myself, but I listened to what my gift was, and now I get to share it with the world. So thank you for that.
Thank you for saying that. And you know what is so important too, is that I listened to it even though I didn't fully understand the calling. That was what was so important, because I was being pulled to LA, to Santa Monica. I had no idea why, but it was such a strong pull that I knew I had to do it, regardless of how scared and how unpredictable it was. And now looking back, of course, it was the best decision I ever made, but I can so remember those first few days of changing, the flights and literally looking at my fingers typing like they were controlling themselves, like I wasn't in control. It was like such a strong pull that I had to listen. There was no looking back.
Am I alone when I say, like, we're afraid of our inner voice?
No, you're not alone.
What our inner voice is telling us, even
Right,
though,
well, yeah. It takes work
Right?
to listen to it. Yeah, it takes work to listen to it. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey of a decade of learning and growing. And I call life constant transformation, right? Because we are consistently growing and learning and evolving. And I'm not the same person I was last week, let alone, a decade ago, right?
Funny
So,
how
and
that happens.
it's exciting though. I think it's wonderful to look at life that way and say, okay, what's next?
So we've talked about overcoming your fears, listening to the inner voice. I want to go back just a little bit further. Homelessness. There's an inner grit. Could be that inner voice starting to talk, or definitely talking and forcing you to manifest some physical outward activity. There's an inner grit that you have to dig into to continually stay there, to survive, right? And then to get out. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I remember several moments that really stand out for me during that time. One of them was the first time around when I was homeless. So it was 2 times over the span of 12 months. The first time was, I remember I was able to scrape up about $10 a week of what you would call disposable income. And with that $10, I went to a yoga class because I just needed one day for quiet, right? Solitude to connect, right? And I remember one day I was walking to this yoga class because I didn't have a car. And I'm walking to this yoga class and I'm in that survival victim mentality. Why me? And I literally said, why is this happening? Right? And the answer I got was amazing. The answer was, well, Cali, you are very passionate about supporting the less fortunate, children who are underserved, people that are underserved, and yet you have never experienced want. You have grown up in a middle-class family, you're a former athlete, you've traveled all over the world, you've been a public figure since you were a child. You've never wanted for anything. So how could you possibly understand what this demographic that you want to serve is going through unless you've experienced it? That was the answer I got. And it was like this light bulb went off and I went, oh my gosh, you're right. Okay, bring it on, right? And so with that understanding that I need to be able to experience that to truly fulfill my purpose was one of the first steps. Then what I realized is that once everything is gone, you look at life with new eyes, with a fresh perspective, right? Life all of a sudden becomes very simple. Where am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat? Am I safe? Am I healthy? That's it, right? So one day I went to the bank and I withdrew $20 from my bank accounts. And I looked at the receipt and it said $5.63. And I remember walking down the street and I said, I've got $5 to my name. And yet I'm happy because I woke up this morning in a place that I love, even though I don't have a home. I'm healthy, I'm strong, it's a beautiful day, and I get to create. I'm happy. And so in that moment, success and happiness, I gave a new definition to. It wasn't about what was in my bank account or how many things I had. It was, what was it within, right? It was being able to share my creativity with the world. It was being able to feel safe, to have that peace of mind. And these things that so many take for granted, that for so many others are really luxuries. And so that was a big moment as well.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm just amazed by that. I've never heard anyone actually embrace homelessness.
Yeah.
To hear that You know, what a shift in your mentality to be able.
It was huge. It was huge because that first time around, I was able to get food stamps. And I was blessed with connecting with some people in Marin who point me in the right direction of human services. And so I was able to get food stamps. And I remember they gave me, I think it was like $200 a month. And I don't eat very much, you know, I fill up, I've got a high metabolism. I fill up very easily. And so what I would do, I remember it was Christmas, and I would take my food stamps and I would go to like a CVS or a Walgreens, and I would buy a thing of sandwiches. And I'd go around to the homeless on the streets and I'd give them the sandwiches, right? Because I'm like, I got a roof over my head tonight somehow, you know? And it's like, these people have nothing. I remember it was raining that day and I was like, God, these poor people, you know? And would feed them on the streets because it was like, I'm not hungry, you know, I've got enough to satisfy myself, and at least I can help someone else in the process. So, you know, it's all about, you know, we have so much, you know, and it's just, if we can help somebody else, you know, that's what matters. And I remember this one guy, I was walking through Union Square in San Francisco, and he asked me for money. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, I don't even have a home. And I remember he looked at me and he goes, but you're so pretty, right? And I'm like, but see, wow. the face of homelessness, right? It can happen to anyone, you know, it doesn't discriminate. You know, the demographics are endless, you know, and it's just a matter of realizing that, you know, here I was with multiple college degrees and all this experience, and it happened to me. So, you know, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Where are you going? What's next?
What's your plan, man?
Right?
I love that. I am unstoppable. Right?
Yeah. So 2019, I launched Tower 15 Productions. I then started working on my first film, Pearl, which was supposed to be a feature-length documentary about women in homelessness and women who had experienced homelessness and found success in the arts. I had put together an amazing all-female cast and crew, and we spent a year trying to raise money for this film and just could not do it for one reason or another. And it was so frustrating because it's like, we've got this amazing story, this incredible group of talented women, and we want to share this story, and nothing happened. And so it was September of 19, I had put everything I had into this film. I had run out of money, and I thought, holy crap, here we go again. I can't pay the rent, you know? And I was like, I guess I'm probably gonna have to look for a job. And I remember I was trying to get to a job fair in Culver City, living in Santa Monica, trying to get to Culver City, and I don't have a car. So literally I had to take the bus to get there. And I did not have enough money to get the bus to Culver City. And I remember in that moment, first indication was, crap, how is this possibly happening to me, right? The victim, that victim mentality, it's there, it comes immediately. But then I paused and I said, wait a second, take a step back and think about this. I don't have any money, so I can't get to Culver City, but what is it that I currently have, and what can I do with what I currently have? So I looked and I said, well, I have a cell phone, I have a computer at home with editing software. I love to edit, by the way, Lisa. And I said,
my sister.
Right? I said, I'm a storyteller. I'm creative. I can reach out to people. If I can't drive somewhere, I can walk, you know. I said, I've got legs, right? I can make a film. And I said, I'm going to make a film, and I'm going to show the world what I can do with zero budget and very limited resources. And so I ended up reaching out to some friends who worked with the homeless community, supporting the homeless community in LA. And I said, I want to make this film about the homeless crisis in LA, but I want to focus on prevention. Because I said, I believe that there's too many organizations out there that support the homeless once they become homeless, but we don't want them to get there in the first place, right? So why don't we focus on prevention? And of course, my friends were like, absolutely, how can I help? And then I reached out to some other friends who were musicians, composers, and I said, would you be willing to donate music for this film? And they said, absolutely. And within 6 weeks, we made a 15-minute film. I wrote it, I shot it, I produced it, I edited it, I did everything to it. And I named it Invisible. And I started submitting it to film festivals. I literally had friends lend me the money or pay for the submission fees to submit them to festivals. And in January of 2020, this little film, the little film that could is what we're calling it, started winning awards. And it was just like, okay, what's happening? I was like, this was just supposed to be a proof of concept to show the world what I can do. And our little film is winning awards. And then in February, I found out that it had been selected for the Golden State Film Festival, and we were going to hold our LA premiere at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood. And that just blew my mind, because I was like, are you kidding me? My film on the big screen in the Chinese theater. And then Oscar weekend, that was Oscar weekend. Oscar Sunday, I found that out. Oscar Monday, the next day, I found out that my accreditation as a filmmaker had been approved for the Cannes Film Festival in France. And I'm just like, someone pinch me. This is just nuts, right? It was like all my biggest dreams were coming true in a span of weeks. I mean, it was craziness. And then I remember the first week of March, I was invited for the second year to speak at Career Day at Santa Monica High School. And I was one of 6 film directors, the only female, to be invited. And it was incredible. And then, of course, everything stopped, right? And so I thought, well, as is in life, everything is temporary. So, of course, COVID will be as well. And where do I want my life to be like on the other side of it? I could crawl under a rock and wait this thing out, or I can continue to work and continue to plant seeds and do my part. And that's what I did in 2020. I wrote scripts, I worked on other projects, I published my 10th book. I did all these things. And so now I'm in a position where I've got content and I'm starting to work on my next film. And so it's amazing just to see where, things went. That's why I said 2020 was amazing, because it just like, this is nuts, it's exciting. I'm living the dream, and it's interesting. I recently posted, I think to answer your question and moving forward as well, the last month has been very interesting in that I'm an empath for one. And so I feel a lot of the collective consciousness. And right now the collective consciousness is in a very deep place of fear, right? And so I'm feeling that. And I've looked at the ways that the answers that I've received or the feedback that I've received when I've said that 2020 was amazing. Some people have reacted, well, you don't want to say that, or you might want to keep that to yourself, or, things like that. And
That's
at the
fun.
moment, you're kind of just like, you want to sink into that, space, right? And then I'm like, well, wait a second, why should I dim my light in order to fit in with the collective consciousness, when in turn I could actually shine it even brighter and support those who really need it, because right now the collective really needs it, right? And I think it's almost our duty to really continue to shine, to continue to live our dreams and support others, and share our gifts with the world in order to take things to another level. I mean, things are going to get better. It may take time, but we're going to get through it. And it's just a matter of taking it one day at a time, coming from a place of gratitude, sharing our gifts, and knowing that what we're going to do, what we're doing every day, will have a positive impact on the world.
Isn't it amazing what we can do when we stop assuming that victim role?
Yeah.
And realize that we have control over our own lives?
Absolutely.
and that we don't need to blame everybody else for anything that happens to us in our lives.
I've said this many times. It starts with taking 100% responsibility for your life.
Accountability. That's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well said.
Absolutely.
Hoorah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And we always have a choice. We may not have a choice as to what is happening around us, but we have a choice always on how we respond and react to what is happening around us.
Yes.
Oh my
Yes, for
goodness.
sure.
You are just speaking our language. Absolutely. You cannot control how or people are treating you, but you can definitely control how you respond to the situation.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm in the mortgage industry, and I too thought 2020 was a fantastic year. I definitely understand where you're coming from, because people have asked in multiple networking settings, you know, how are you doing and how's your year going? And there's been some times where a couple of those individuals, they almost sound like they want to jump on the attack mode, or I really ostracize is the word that keeps coming to mind, where they want to make sure that you're outed for doing well in 2020.
Don't you feel guilty sometimes saying how well you're doing
Yes.
while everybody else is like, this is horrible?
And it's like
I
the
hate
emails that you get, and the first line, we know for everyone 2020 was miserable. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. You know?
But it wasn't.
And
it was amazing.
I don't know.
I found myself feeling guilty.
I don't know if it's the guilt as much as I agree with you, Kelly. It's keeping the voice muted.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you know who you're allowed to say, oh yeah, it's a good year when you're in their presence. And then, you know, other arenas where it's, again, muting your voice, quieting that voice, because you just don't want to come out and sound arrogant. You don't want to come out and you don't want to say, absolutely, it's great. Well, you've got multiple other individuals saying, we don't even know for sure how we're going to put food on the table next week.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that comes down to, it's all about who you surround yourself with.
I was just going to say that too, because that also then leads you to know, do I really want to be around this type of person? Do I really want, you know, they say the 5 people that you're constantly around define who you are, right?
Right.
And I'm learning that. It's just like, okay, you know, I mean, there was a friend who we were very close about 4 years ago, right? Who is in such a dark, negative space. And I'm just like, I love you, but I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't subject myself to that. you
Right.
know?
Love them from
Right.
afar.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And
so
it goes back to choice is a powerful thing, and we decide who we want to be around, but then we also choose, do I want to be the victim or the victor?
Right.
right.
Exactly. Some people are going to listen and then some are not. And some you just, you know, you're going to be able to share what it is that you want with them and support them and love them. But if they're not willing to respond or receive what you're trying to, there's nothing you can do. And I think it's understanding that that's okay. It's just not supposed to be, right? It's like you do what you can, but don't beat yourself up because they're not getting it. Right?
They are, meet them where they're at.
Right.
Everybody's doing the best they can with the tools that they have.
Exactly.
And that's you just accept them that way. If you truly go with that mentality, you're truly accepting everyone for whoever they are, wherever they are.
Absolutely.
I met Kelly networking and her story struck me, and I got to see her yesterday at the same networking event. And I know that you've already found success and you're finding success. What do you want to share with other women about networking? Because I know you're still out doing it out there, but what have you found that continues you inspired to continue to do it?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to know that we're always learning, right? Doesn't matter how much we know, we're always learning. And what I did specifically in 2020 is hired coaches, took classes, enrolled in UCLA Extension to continue learning, right? Constantly learning. And I think that's so important to realize that it just makes you a better person. I mean, and it gives you so many more options. You know, when I decided in 2014 that I wanted to be a filmmaker, I started coming out of a career as an author, going into screenwriting, going, okay, well, the logical next step would be screenwriting because it's something I've never done. And I'll look at that. And I hated it. I was like, this is horrible. You know, I was like, I don't want to do this. But what I also did was then looked at all the different areas of filmmaking, directing, producing, editing, cinematography, everything, and tried a little bit of everything to see what stuck, right? That's how I found out I loved editing. I'm like, I could sit at a computer all day long and I'm a happy girl, right? And then when I started speaking with mentors, and this was what was so important about networking, is I went to every event, every film festival, everything I could in LA, and volunteered my services and said, I'm here to help. I have an event management background. I'm a photographer. How may I help you? So I led from a place of service and then learned as I was helping. So for anyone, I do a lot of speaking to my fellow alum or students from my alums, my colleges that I went to and universities. And I tell them, when you're starting out, volunteer for everything, come from a place of service, and that's how you learn, right? Because you're not going into it going, what's for me, right? So that's so important. So for networking, same thing. You know, what is it that you want to do? Who can you learn from? Where can you find them? Don't be afraid to reach out, you know, and then lead from a place of service. And in return, you're going to get so much more than you put in, that the rewards are amazing. And so, yeah, that's why I continue to network and join all these groups, because I love meeting other women. I love hearing, you know, what their stories are, how I may support them. And what I'm most passionate about now is supporting women in tapping into that creative genius, into that inner muse, right? And really embracing that, and then creating and sharing their stories and their artistic endeavors from that space. Because now I write books, I literally get downloads, complete downloads. Same thing with my films, you know, complete downloads. And because I'm doing it from that space. And so now I feel so called to pay it forward. And
what a wonderful way to wrap it up. You concluded it all yourself. That was awesome. I was thinking, boy, I don't have to do anything. Wrapping it all up, putting a little bow on it.
Cali, remind us of what your short film is called, and can we find it?
yes, so my short film is called Invisible. And it's on tower15productions.com/invisible. My main site is caligilbert.com, and I wear many hats, so everything is on there. And yeah, excited to see what lies ahead for this year and ready to rock and roll.
I watched the film. I loved it. You did an amazing job.
That's awesome. Well, I think we all, Lisa and I, have some film watching to be had this weekend for sure. Now we know. Thank you.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you all
Such
so
a
much.
pleasure to meet you, Cali.
This was amazing, Kelly. Thank you so very, very much, Kelly, for coming to visit and spending some time in Girl Talk. We here at Girl Talk are here to share these types of stories, empower women, make them realize that they are not only supported, but there are resources out there for them to seek and actually grow. And I love the word evolve that we've talked about, and Cali has alluded to multiple times in talking today. So thank you so very much. We truly, truly appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming, and the door is always open for you to come back to visit and share. Let us know what you're doing. Tell us about all of your projects.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. It was a pleasure
you,
seeing
Kelly.
you again.
Can somebody speak?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
I miss you, Amy.
As you can see, we're very unscripted, Kelly. Lisa is our editor, and so she gets to delete the things that we kind of mess up on sometimes and makes it fun. We just want to be real. We want to be authentic and just be ourselves.
We curse, and we just say whatever comes off the top of our head. I'm a big no filter person, so I just say whatever. Don't be offended. Hopefully you won't be.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay, Lisa? Ready? Or do you want to finish chewing?
Does the cat have your tongue today?
No, not at all. I want.
I'm talking to Anna.
Oh.
We know cat never has her tongue, girl.
I was say.
Glasses.
That was awesome.
That was
I can see.